I really appreciate it. Thank you for your listening, for your ear, and thank you, Dr. Ridge, for bringing me back again. Obviously, you know the title of this evening's talk. It's I'm using the word habit. There are lots of words we could use that might offend, like addiction, or there are lots of different kinds of words. But I'm going to be very sensitive about this because it is, a sensitive subject, and I'm here to just share my research around sugar and what I've seen in the medical studies, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me. Hopefully we'll have a lively discussion this evening. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore sugar and different kinds of sugar, different types of sugar. Obviously we all know about how bad sugar is. We all have heard the messages, the public health messages, sugar's not great. We're going to discuss different kinds of health effects, the impact, and we're going to look at some strategies for trying to quit sugar and how we can balance our blood sugar levels naturally, and basically how to live a sugar-free life. That is the aim for this evening. Okay, and away we go. So obviously I think a lot of people may or may not know about the history of sugar and its dark history. I actually had a friend just the other day talking to me on the phone saying that she realised that her ancestors were involved with the slave trade, and she was actually giving her money to that very company that had been enslaving her ancestors, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. When you really get the gravity of that, because I think we all know about that. I don't need to go into a history lesson because I'm not a historian, but I think we all know a lot about what happened back in the slave trade. So this has been around for a long time, and it's in our history, and it didn't really start to become a real problem until the 50s, when they started taking fat out of the diet and replacing it with more sugar. And I have spoken on that subject in previous talks, so I'm just going to focus on sugar this time. So we'll discuss the use and the misuse of sugar. And as quoted by this Kathleen de Messel, she says that sugar isn't evil, but life is so much better when you get rid of it. So we're not going to use the word evil. So, well, we do need a bit of sweetness in our life. Would you not agree? And we do need certain kinds of sugars for energy, and from a TCM perspective, it's considered to be a fuel to feed the life force. But when we overdo it, when we have a kind of unhealthy relationship with it, it starts to take away our life force and really put a lot of stress on our organs. And so there are huge impacts and implications of the overuse of sugar. So I am going to, we know that sugar is ubiquitous, it's in everything. We are going to look at that. We're going to look at where it's snuck into our diet and how we've got to where we are right now, because diabetes is now so bad. We've got over 6 million people living with it, and that doesn't even include the people who are undiagnosed with kind of diabetes or diabetic related problems. And this is costing the NHS something like £14 billion a year. And a lot of this is preventable. So there is a saying that says, make time for your health, otherwise your health will force you to make time for it, will force you to make time for your health. And you don't want to be in a position where you don't have any choice in the matter, where you get to a point where your body says, that's it, no more. You've got the opportunity to make some really positive changes now before you have to. And type 2 diabetes is so common now, people under 40 are getting it. It is in the news, it's very, very current, and Diabetes UK recently announced it was in the news just a few weeks ago about the high prevalence of diabetes and how it's rising. And diabetes 2 is totally preventable and reversible. And yet it's costing the NHS £14 billion a year. That's an awful lot of money, would you not agree? Yes? So we've got more than 1.3 billion adults who will have diabetes by 2050, this a particular study predicts. So that is a prediction, and that's quite worrying, isn't it? Would you not say? Yes, and it's not because we're all out there shoveling chocolate biscuits in our mouth every night. It's absolutely not. Sugar is hidden in a lot of different things, and I am going to talk about that so that we can navigate our way through the shopping aisles. I do like quotes. We've entered into a Faustian pact with sugar. It's a short-term reward for a long-term tragedy. Enough said on that one, really. So there is actually I encourage you to go online and look up 144 reasons why sugar is ruining your health by Nancy Appleton, because I can't fit it all on a PowerPoint. But just to summarise, sugar is highly acidic. It robs your body of minerals. It is empty calories. It is poisonous to your mitochondria. It can cause mitochondrial dysfunction. And when you look at the amount of neurodegenerative problems we've got in this country, people with Parkinson's and MS, there's a huge connection, believe me, because a lot of it is mitochondrial dysfunction. Sugar poisons your mitochondria. Your mitochondria, for anyone that doesn't quite know what that means, it is the energy powerhouse in every cell in your body. Every single cell in your body. You have got more of it in your heart and your liver. And your liver has to metabolize all of that sugar, all of the fructose in that sugar. So you're poisoning your mitochondria. It's very inflammatory. It's said to feed cancer. I believe that is scientific fact now. We know it leads to diabetes, but it can feed the bad bacteria in your gut. When you are eating sugar, it feeds the unfriendly pathogens, and they're fighting for space with your friendly bacteria. And it will fight for the parking spaces and completely wipe out your friendly bacteria if you eat enough sugar. And then the friendly bacteria is there to help you support your immune system and to help you digest your nutrients. So it's very important to maintain your gut microbiome, and to be eating sugar is actually destroying your gut microbiome. It also suppresses your immune system for up to 5 hours. I was sitting in the library just a few weeks ago, and I had a whole table full of teenagers around me doing their studies, and they were sitting there coughing and spluttering and scoffing loads of chocolate down their throats while they were coughing and spluttering. So I wish I could have just shown them this, quite frankly.
Can I just ask, keep 100 times recently I've come across the next word, inflammation.
Yes.
I just haven't got a clue what it is.
Okay.
I haven't got a clue.
Right, okay. All right, well, I'm just going to move through this, but we can discuss that at the end for sure. Yeah. So, sugar upsets the mineral relationships in the body, interfering with calcium and magnesium absorption. And it also obviously leads to weight gain. That's the obvious one. We all know that. Yes? When people eat too many carbohydrates, the liver, the pancreas has to produce more insulin. It has to keep pushing out insulin to place the sugars that it's made, the glucose, into the cells of the body. And if you're eating an awful lot of high carbohydrate foods, it can put a lot of stress on the pancreas, and that's when it starts to become resistant. So the tissues don't want to receive it anymore, and the pancreas is just a bit tired. So this is how we get into being diabetic. So I want to talk a little bit about habits or addictions. The thing about food is that it can take over us, our minds and our lives, and actually it robs us of our ability to show up in life and fulfill upon our potential. And my philosophy, or my approach is that often we reach for food and for sugar when we're bored or we're unfulfilled. Just think about that, yeah?
Or depressed.
Yeah, well, same thing really, isn't it? You know, boredom and unfulfillment. And if you're in an unfulfilling relationship or an unfulfilling job, then sometimes we use these things as a replacement for that. It's often been said that you know, diabetes can be considered a lack of joy, you know, a lack of sweetness in one's life. A lot of spiritual books say that, in particular Caroline Myss. So I think the key thing is to not use the word treat to say, I'm going to have a treat and I'm going to have a big bucket of ice cream this evening, or I'm going to have a chocolate bar just this once. It's not actually treating ourselves, it's poisoning ourselves, because it's a metabolic poison. It's like having a really bad relationship where you know it's not good for you, but you just keep going back to it. You know, but you just can't help yourself. It's the same thing. It's abusing you. It's an abusive partner, you know, but you keep going back to it. We all have been there. So using the word treat, I often hear people saying that about treating themselves or even treating their children. But, you know, is it really a treat? Is it really a treat? So white refined cane sugar is a mixture of sucrose and fructose. Now, sucrose goes via the pancreas, and fructose goes via the liver. And your liver has to deal with an awful lot because it metabolizes that and drugs and, you know, caffeine and alcohol and all these other things. It's under huge amounts of stress and pressure. A lot of people end up with fatty liver. And that really is a barrier to losing weight as well, if your liver is really quite compromised. If you're trying to lose weight and you're doing all the diets and all that stuff, sometimes just giving a liver a cleanse, a kickstart, can often help with that. But the liver has to metabolize fructose, and it poisons the liver, by the way. Fructose poisons the liver. Sugar, anything with the word ose on the end is a kind of sugar. So we've got lactose, which you find in dairy. And that's what you have when you have low-fat skimmed dairy. You're drinking milk sugars. I think I have actually spoken about this in one of my other talks, for anyone that was at my other talk. And dextrose and glucose, they're all maltose, they're all kind of hidden sugars in different things. So when you're looking at labels, you can see if there's something like that in there, you can see what kind of a sweetener they've got. So all of the carbohydrates, the refined carbohydrates, are simple sugars, and they're broken down to, you know, to glucose. And the thing about it is that it's ubiquitous. It's hidden in many everyday foods, and we don't think about it sometimes. Everybody have a ketchup, tomato ketchup at home in their cupboards?
Yeah.
Yeah, a few people do, yeah. Baked beans, anyone eat baked beans? Yep, yeah. So,
sugar and salt.
That's right, yeah. And even bread and jam. Obviously we know jam. Jam's a classic one. We know what we're getting when we eat jam, because it says, you know, it's a sugary thing. But bread, you know. This is one of the leading brands of bread, and it has quite a lot of sugar in it. They need sugar to feed the yeast. There was an article quite a few years ago naming this particular brand as having the highest amount of sugar of all the breads. I don't know if anyone can guess what it is. It's the leading one. That's right, yes. They have a teaspoon of sugar to every 6 to 8 slices, I think, of bread. Wow. Yeah. And they were found, I think it was in the British Medical Journal, it was found to be the worst. I think Sainsbury's own was the second in terms of high sugar.
Is that to enhance the taste, or is it
It's a number of things. It's to feed the yeast, but I don't think it's necessary to use the amount of sugar. I mean, that is about third on the list, isn't it?
Amount, and other breads don't have that amount.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, sugar does actually kind of keep it stabilizes it a little bit, keeps it fresher for longer, I think.
Yeah, that's what it's for, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it prolongs shelf life, yeah. And I mean, if you look at what's in this bread, this is the enemy of your gut. This is the absolute enemy of your gut, because this is the key to why people are getting leaky gut and why it's leading on to diabetes, you know, and neurodegenerative problems, dementia. It's all been connected. It's all in the studies. You can go onto nature.com and you can see it there. You know, leaky gut connected to Parkinson's, caused by things like this. And rapeseed oil, and palm. Palm is destroying the environment. Rapeseed is destroying your health. So they don't use traditional methods anymore with processed, mass-produced bread. They're not fermenting it slowly, carefully over a period of time. They're trying to make it as quickly as possible. They've got the most glutinous bread to make it as spongy and as glutinous as they possibly can. Make it nice and gooey. Make it nice, kind of, yeah, spongy basically. And then preservatives to keep it on the shelf for longer. And, you know, I mean, I can go on forever with that really, but as you can see, there's there's granulated sugar and caramelized sugar. So it's partly to feed the yeast, partly to prolong the shelf life, and also because it makes it addictive. It means you want to keep coming back and eating more. I've seen people eat a whole loaf in one sitting. Just once you have a loaf, you can't stop, you know?
Sometimes you get them, it just tastes so wonderful.
Yeah, totally.
Like a bar of chocolate, you can't stop what you start.
Well, I mean, wheat has got similar chemicals to it that kind of stimulate our opioid receptors. So wheat is already addictive anyway. And it has all these lectins in it and phytic acid, which basically cause leaky gut. It gets your tight junctions to open up. So you've got this kind of barrage of abuse in your gut from this loaf of bread. Have I got the message across there? But you know what? Gluten-free products are even worse in my mind. They're full of rubbish. Look how many ingredients are in that, and that's a leading brand, a new one that's just come out actually. They're called Promise. They'll promise they'll ruin your gut. The thing is that if you're gluten intolerant, you've already got leaky gut. So having something like this is going to make it 10 times worse. Them and Genius, sorry to out them, but they are full of bad oils, bad rancid oils, bad yeasts, and lots of sugar to make them taste nice, to make them addictive. But all that refined flour, it doesn't matter what it is, it's still white refined flour, it's still sugar to the body. Your body's still going to break it down to glucose, even if it's gluten-free. And all the gluten-free products, it's very difficult to find anything that isn't full of bad oils and sugar. Very difficult. There are a few out there, and I'm happy to name them. Yeah. You can get sugar-free alternatives to your standard staples. There's healthy alternatives to pretty much everything, really.
The trouble is they normally come at a higher premium.
They come at a little bit more expensive, but aren't you worth it?
No, it's about the state of the economy at the moment.
Well, it's about prioritisation, isn't it? It's what you prioritise, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Completely. Yeah. And you know, you can buy Mr. Organic. I think they use apple juice, or Dr. Will's. Even Heinz baked beans are now doing it sugar-free with using stevia.
What?
Heinz baked beans?
No, what did you say with that?
Stevia.
What is that?
Well, we can discuss that in a minute. It's coming up. It's coming up. Yes. There's a company that you can get in any supermarket called St. Dalfor. And it uses just grape juice to make jams. And they taste just as good, in my mind, as any other fruit jams and marmalades. And they have a really nice range. If anyone's tried them here, have you tried them? Yes, a few people. Yeah, they're good, aren't they?
They changed this though, Charlotte. They put date syrup as well.
They now put date syrup, do they? I've not seen that.
Yes.
St. Dalfor. Yeah, they're a French brand.
They're thin.
They're tall, thin glass bottles. You get them in Sainsbury's, Waitrose. Yeah, about £2 a pot. And there are different kinds of sweeteners. So the thing about date syrup is that there is some minerals in it, but there's more fibre in it if you just ate dates. But if you're using it in baking, it's certainly better than white sugar to different degrees. I like anyone tried molasses, blackstrap molasses? That's all the minerals they strip off of sugar. All the iron, the potassium and the B vitamins, they just strip it straight off the sugar and you're left with black. It's going to really poison your liver if it hasn't got any fibre present. Fibre is a natural antidote and it mops up the fructose. So there are lots of different kinds of things that you can get sweetness from, a sweet experience from. This is a Japanese dessert and it's kind of like fermented oats or rice or millet, and it's actually quite delicious. It's a kind of creamy dessert. It's have you tried it, Stephen? No, you haven't. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, it's quite an experience. I invite you to all have a new taste experience and try amazaki. It's really great. You can do sorts of things with it, and you can put it into homemade pancakes, or put it into a smoothie, or just have it warm with a little bit of salt duff or jam. There's all sorts of things you can do with it, and that's how you can get a kind of natural sweetness without it being, because it's more complex carbohydrates, not being a kind of instant sugar hit. Clear Spring are a really great company, very, very good, and you should be able to get that hopefully at the Village Health Food Store in Forty Hall. So there are lots of different kinds of sugars, and we all know about cane sugar. Jaggery is something that is a kind of cane sugar that you get from India, but it tends to have more minerals in it. So whatever sweetener you choose to have, I personally prefer to have something that's a bit more whole food, it's got minerals in it. If there is a bit of fructose or whatever, then if it's with fibre, then you can get away with it basically. But sucrose, you find cane sugar in all those products, baked beans and bread and all kinds of stuff. Fructose, fruit juice. Anybody drink fruit juice? No. I personally find that a lot of people start the day with fruit juice and it causes blood sugar problems, so you end up binging in the afternoon and really destroying your discipline for sugar, for carbohydrates. You say, right, I'm going to be really good today, not eat any high carbs, I'm going to be really good, just eat healthy. But if you start the day with a fruit juice, it can end up causing big problems in terms of discipline, blood sugar problems, and cravings. There's agave. Agave is very, very high in fructose. Very, very high in fructose. Maple syrup has some fructose. Honey has some fructose, but it has lots of minerals in it as well. Coconut palm sugar has some fructose in it. So it's just about being mindful. It's okay if you're having it a little bit, if you're making a homemade cake, and it's just there with the fibre and it's a good healthy cake. I find it's okay. So everybody's got different tolerance levels around things like sugar and fructose. So it's just about finding out what works for you. I'm not here to kind of dictate how much sugar you should have in your life and what you should have. It's all about just being aware of what the sucrose and the fructose content is. High fructose corn syrup is a huge issue in America, more so than it is here really. They use it because they grow a lot of corn out in America, and the politics out there, they've been subsidising the farmers and making food cheap and available, and unfortunately as a result high fructose corn syrup's really snuck into the diet over in America. It's in everything, and hence why they have a huge metabolic syndrome, stroke obesity problem in America. I think we're all aware of that, how bad it is. So lactose as well. Lactose, as I said before, is a milk sugar. Yes, a lot of us are drinking skimmed and semi-skimmed dairy and yogurts, and it's just got loads of sugar in it. In particular low-fat yogurts, because they add extra sugar to it. But dairy in itself has got milk sugars and they can cause problems. They can cause blood sugar problems if you start the day with a high carbohydrate breakfast with skimmed or semi-skimmed milk and some cereals and some toast and some fruit juice, and the whole breakfast is just setting you up for disaster later on in the day. If you often feel hungry around 11 or about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, it means your breakfast really didn't set you up. I think we all know that one, where we have a blood sugar drop at those particular times and we have to reach for something that's high carbohydrate to keep us going. I think that we've all had that experience, right? We have all that experience. Yeah. Yeah, you can do. You can get really low, really hypo, and go, right, I don't care, just give me the cake, give me the whatever, I'm having it, get out of my way. It can be like that. And yeah, it's because your breakfast had too many carbohydrates in it, basically. Nothing wrong with carbohydrates per se, it's just that they're refined and you're choosing to have them at the wrong time of the day. So I want to talk a little bit about honey, actually, because although honey has got fructose in it, it does have lots of valuable minerals, as long as it's raw. Raw honey is very different from pasteurized honey. Okay, raw honey retains all of the minerals in it and the antioxidants, the bee pollen and the bee propolis. There's traces of it in there. Bee pollen has antioxidant properties, and bee propolis is very good for as an antiviral and kind of immune boosting properties, basically. So yeah, a lot of raw honey has elements of that in it, but when you pasteurize it, you heat it up above a certain temperature, it loses all of its mineral value. So really all you're just eating is just fructose, and it's just almost as bad. A lot of pasteurized honey can be just as bad as a bag of sugar, really. A lot of people buy honey thinking it's really healthful or it's really good for you, but if you're not getting it raw, and the advantages of getting it raw is that often it will be a local honey as well, which protects you against the hay fever. So it's got lots of benefits to it. And Manuka honey in particular as well is antiviral and antibacterial. So that's got lots of benefits. So as I said, fruit juice gets touted as being very healthy. But it does just go straight to your liver, and also it's very lipogenic. It means your body turns into fat around the body straight away, immediately, pretty quickly, and stores it. So fruit juices are not ideal, especially if you are someone who has blood sugar management problems, like you're a bit of a hypo. Then fruit juice is just pure fructose.
Which is the worst, natural fruit juice or pure fruit juice?
It's all the same, isn't it?
No.
What are you talking about? Whether you're doing it at home or you do it?
No, I'm talking. You can buy. You look at the boxes. Some say natural, some say pure.
Well, they're just words.
And the contents are different. I just wonder whether there's a difference in strength of what you're talking about.
Well, you just got to check the label on the side to see how much fructose is in there, or carbohydrates, or what sugars. That's what you're looking for, really. People who are diabetic have been trained to do this. They've been trained to go and look at the label and check how many carbohydrates there are and of which sugars. And it will tell them, and they know this. A lot of them know this about the dairy and about the fruit juice. So another thing about sweeteners is that artificial sweeteners are not natural. They're artificial. They're made in a lab, and they still stimulate sweet receptors in your body. So they can still cause all the problems that we're trying to avoid by taking them, like diabetes and obesity. And they've now been doing a lot of studies around sweeteners. They're in a lot of the across the board in the media, actually, a lot of the artificial sweeteners, and they've found that they cannot be considered to be a healthy and safe alternative to sugar. The problem with synthetic sweeteners is that they're still, like all the sweeteners across the board, isn't they still keep the sweet habit, the sweet addiction alive. So we're still maintaining the taste, the addiction that we have. So it's very easy to just drop back into our old habits if we carry on using substitutes. That's the problem. It is about just weaning ourselves off just gently and slowly, and being kind and compassionate to yourself about it, not beating yourself up about it. But the thing about things like diet fizzy drinks is that they're still carbohydrates at the end of the day, so they're still going to cause problems. Erythritol is one of the it's one of the sweeteners out there, and that has been associated now with heart attacks and strokes. And I've put the studies there for anybody who wants a PowerPoint. I'm happy to send it to you. You can go and look at the studies. Yep.
So I went to the end. Gusto, a really healthy drink.
Oh yeah. I'll write to them. Okay. Right. Okay. So xylitol, that is actually naturally from foods, but it doesn't really have any minerals in it. You see, my mum uses it sometimes because she's kind of like borderline. She's pre-diabetic. Yeah, she's insulin resistant, and she does use some xylitol sometimes to make cakes, but she doesn't overemphasize it. She's not using it a lot. She uses it very occasionally because it doesn't mess around with her blood sugar levels. But it doesn't have it, like I said, it is up to you, but it doesn't have any minerals in it. But it doesn't really have much in it. Yeah, 40% fewer calories, if calories is something that you're focusing on. Stevia, this has been consumed for centuries in Central and South America and has been found to be very, very safe. It doesn't stimulate the sweet receptors, and your pancreas doesn't have to produce any insulin to place it anywhere. So it is actually the safest, considered to be the safest sweetener, but it does have a strange taste. So you can get it in different ways. You can get it as a kind of a powder or a liquid. Some people find that they can make their own liquids, get the leaf and then put it in water and then sweeten the water and then use the water. It does have a funny little aftertaste. If anyone here has tried stevia, yes, so you know that it's quite a challenge. So, is chocolate good for us?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's certainly good for the soul.
Good.
It's certainly good for the soul. It's certainly very good, you know, to kind of uplift our mood. But commercial chocolate is actually not that high in cocoa. It's got too much sugar in it, and oils and dairy, and it's very, very addictive. And one's never enough. You always want more. It stimulates the sweet receptors in the body, so the following day around the same time, the body wants more, and you know you're back on the wagon again. Raw cacao does have a few more minerals in it, more antioxidants. And if you're buying a raw chocolate bar, I do have some here by the wonderful Raw Chocolate Co. They've sent us some to try. yeah, for sure. In fact, yeah, I will pass it around in a minute. I won't tease you. Yeah, raw chocolate has more antioxidants in it, and they tend to not use cane sugar. They tend to use a natural sweetener, like a coconut palm sugar, or maple syrup, or or carob syrup, things like that. So generally they tend to not use dairy. Actually, most of them don't use dairy. So they can be okay if you go for the ones that are raw and sugar free and dairy free as well. You don't have to have chocolate though. Chocolate can be very heating for some people, and it can be very stimulating because it's actually high in caffeine. So if you have problems sleeping at night, hot chocolate, probably not a good idea. Anyone that does things like that. So you can get chocolate alternatives like Banoffee, using lucuma, which is a South American natural sweetener. It's all very natural, and I've got loads of it here. Just do try. Did anyone like to try now? Do you want to try some? Yes.
Never say no.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me which.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
Take it round.
Why not to tip over the cup?
It tastes just like chocolate.
It does, isn't it? It's good, isn't it? It's because they use cocoa butter. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? So if you really have the desire for chocolate and you think I've got to get off chocolate, I mean, one of the tips is to not have it in your cupboards. If you want to try and, I couldn't resist it, and then you go to the cupboard and there's a packet of Maryland cookies in there. The best thing to do is to not have it in your cupboards for a start, if you want to try and really discipline yourself. And then if you do want a treat, then if you want to call that a treat, then something like that is okay occasionally, just to kind of fulfill that desire, because it's a lovely mouthfeel, isn't it? It's a lovely, good fat.
Titillate your taste buds.
Exactly, titillate your taste buds. That's a really excellent way of saying things. Yes, so the Royal Chocolate Company very kindly donated a box full of chocolate for us to try. So thank you, Royal Chocolate Company. And Jill at the Village Whole Food store sells this chocolate. She does a whole variety of different variations on that. They also, I think they do some mulberries and some goji berries covered in it. Do you know what she does?
Say again?
Do you know what Jill does at the Village Whole Food store?
Yes, it does sell like that.
Yeah.
I've seen that brand in there.
Yes, that's right, yeah. So Jill at the Village Whole Food store in Forty Hall. Thanks, John, thank you. Do help yourselves.
The other thing about chocolate is it takes you up very quickly, but you come down even faster.
That's right, yeah. So you end up...
It's only a quick fix, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's a very good point, actually. Another thing about anything that's got lots of white sugar in it, it's good, isn't it? It's really good. Won't be wasted. So what do we think of the chocolate? Yeah? It's
the dark chocolate.
It's good, isn't it? It's a good replacement, isn't it? So, yeah, so if you feel you need some chocolate in your transition between being on the sugar wagon and being off the sugar wagon, and you know, then things like that can be really helpful for that transition period, and for the occasional time when you feel you really need something like that, or you really want something like that, you know.
Chocolate with nuts and raisins in it, are you offsetting a bit? Are you feeling better?
I think so. I think we often tell ourselves we're buying fruit and nut bar, we'll feel better. You know, at least the nuts have got some good oils and some protein, and yeah, all that. Yeah, we all do that, don't we? But really, it's not. No. So what happens is, if you're eating refined chocolate bars, is it raises your blood sugar levels really high, and then later on in the afternoon you have a massive crash again, and that's when you want more. You're on a kind of constant vicious cycle, and that's how we get that.
It's like being on a drug, isn't it?
Yes, it is like being on a drug, and I could have mentioned the study with the rats, but I think everyone's heard of that study where they put the sugar and the heroin, yeah, and they went for the sugar. So here is so healthy fats and protein help to keep your sugar cravings at bay, help to curb your sugar cravings. If you're eating lots of refined carbohydrates, then you're simply just causing lots of blood sugar swings. I find eating healthy fats and proteins really helpful, but also greens, chlorophyll and magnesium in greens can be really great for keeping your blood sugar levels balanced. And they've also been shown to lower the risk of glaucoma, which is a high insulin related problem, glaucoma. Am I right or am I wrong? I think I'm right. Glaucoma is definitely related to high sugars in the blood. So yes, it's shown in a study that eating more greens will prevent glaucoma, lower your risk. All greens are good, especially dark leafy greens, and especially if they're organic. Right. Organic's best.
Cabbage would be very good for you.
Cabbage is so good for you. Yeah, it's got a powerful antioxidant. It's got powerful antioxidants. Chard, kale. Yeah, 40 Hall Farm, Village Whole Food store for really good quality, just picked. I'm not against organic or vegetables from the supermarket, but they have been sitting on the shelf for quite a few weeks. They're not going to be as vibrant as if you go and buy them from the local farm shop or from the village, the local health food store. So chlorophyll is that green pigmentation. That's what they synthesize with the sun. So any plant that's green has chlorophyll in it, and it's very good for detoxifying the body and speeding up waste elimination. So it's very, very good for cleansing, and it helps increase the likelihood of success with weight loss efforts. So, you know, people talk about calories and portion amounts and that sort of thing. There is no greens. You can have mountains of greens and not worry. You're not gonna have any bad effects. You're not going to put on weight from eating lots of greens. You can have a bit of protein and a bit of fat and just a mountain of greens.
You'll be very gassy now.
Well, you might be, but that's the thing about greens. You've got to cook them properly, especially the brassicas. If you don't cook them, you will be gassy. You must cook them properly. They need to be broken down. Not everybody has the enzymes to break down the brassicas, so you must cook them at least 8 to 10 minutes minimum. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, people find that they do feel a lot better by getting more greens into their diet. Don't be juicing up spinach and chard. They're very rich in oxalates, which will basically contribute to kidney stones in your kidneys, and that's not great. Fruits and vegetables are living sentient or whatever beings, however you like to see it. The Secret Life of Plants book, have anyone heard that? They apparently scream when you pick their friend next to them. I'm not trying to say don't eat plants. I'm saying that they are designed, they're built to protect themselves. They have anti-nutrients in them because they don't want to be eaten. They want to grow. Like every bit of life on the planet, its main focus and priority is to grow and to develop and propagate. So lots of greens, lots of veg do have anti-nutrients in them, and yeah, oxalates is one thing to consider. So raw spinach smoothies is not to be recommended.
Do you think eating raw kale is problematical for everybody or some people? Or because as you talked about the digestibility of it, it certainly is harder when it's raw. Is that a problem for those?
Everybody's different. Some people have got really strong digestive systems, but you can even do the slow kind of like what's the raw food movement where they slow dry it. Dehydration, that's the word I was groping for. Yeah, dehydration. Dehydrated kale is the best way to have it. Or sauerkrauts.
Oh, right, yeah.
They're using cabbage, but when you have sauerkraut, when you ferment it, then you increase its vitamin C content by about 10 times. And people used to use that when they're going away on ships for like months at a time, and everybody had scurvy. They used to take big barrels of sauerkraut to keep their vitamin C levels up. So yeah, sauerkraut is a great way getting veg into your diet, and also keeping your gut microbiome really happy. Super greens, you can add super greens into your diet as well if you want more chlorophyll, if you want to really keep your blood sugar levels supremely intact, in control, tight rein on your blood sugar levels. Super greens like chlorella or spirulina or seaweeds, these are the ones that I favour. If you're going to go for things like barley grass and wheatgrass, they're all detoxifying and cleansing, but go for the juice rather than the whole grass, because our guts weren't designed to be breaking down the cellulose in the grass. So some pucker do it just as the juice. Some companies you get a big bag, you go, oh that's really cheap, but it's cheap because it's just the whole thing, it's just the whole grass ground down, that's why. You're getting all this extra cellulose. I don't know how many stomachs the cow's got, but we haven't got that many stomachs. So we weren't designed to be eating grass all day like cows. So it's got lots of nutrients in it, lots and lots of nutrients. And in particular, seaweeds have lots of micronutrients in them that are missing in land vegetables, so you get extra nutrients. And they're all very complementary to each other. Very, very rich in beta-carotene, antioxidants, protein. Really great for, spirulina is really great for iron. Has anyone heard of tiger nuts? Yeah, they're said to be really good for blood sugar balancing. They're also really good for diabetics. You can make really nice cakes with them. I would say you need to maybe blend it with something else, because it's not so great 100% tiger nut flour. But I have used it with brown rice flour, for example, or a coconut flour. I've experimented with it, and actually the cakes are really quite delicious.
Could you relate it to tiger loaves as well? Is that something completely different?
Tiger
loaves.
Tiger loaves. No, that's different.
It's different completely.
Yeah, that's just a Morrison's marketing brand name. Yeah, tiger loaves. Yeah, no.
What's the shepherd's sedge?
Sorry? That's what it's also called. It's a chuffer sedge. It's what they call it where it's from.
Where is it?
Parts of South America, the Mediterranean, India, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a tuber. It's just, yeah. I mean, there's lots of health benefits to lots of different kinds of tubers. All the sweet potatoes, for example, they're prebiotics. They feed your friendly bacteria. They keep your blood sugar levels balanced. They can all help. These kinds of things. can be really great. So if you want to have some, you know, cake experience, get into tiger nut flour. You can buy it online quite easily. I'm sure Jill would order it for you as well. Ginema sylvestra. Anyone heard it? They also call it gurma or gudma in India. Anyone heard of ginema? No? This, they've done some studies on it actually. They've found that it's actually more effective than a lot of drugs on type 2 diabetics without the side effects. Because obviously medication's always going to have a side effect to different degrees. Yeah, Ginema sylvestra, or gurma as they call it in India, they call it the sugar destroyer. And it switches off the desire for sugar, like that, and carbohydrates. It's very good. I've actually got some packets with me here today. I could mix one up in the break, and we can all try a bit. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to put you off eating all the lovely things out there. So eat those first, and then we'll do it. Because I don't want to.
Loads of sugar out there.
No, there's not loads of sugar. It's just sweet, naturally sweet things.
I'm talking about out there.
Yeah, not out. No, I don't think so. But it does help to rejuvenate the pancreas, reduce the fatty deposits around the pancreas, and yeah, it just generally helps keeping blood sugar levels balanced and just switching off that cravings. It's really good to use as a bit of a crutch. If you're feeling cravings coming on and you really don't know what to do, this is the best way to start the day, or even maybe at night. It depends if you're a hypoglycemic or you have problems with low blood sugars. But if you find that you're just generally having uncontrollable cravings for sugars, then this can be really helpful. People who find that they just can't give it up, if they use this, after about 10 days your taste buds change, and when you go back to sugar you don't like it, it's just too sweet. So that's where you want to be ultimately, and to just not have it in your cupboard at home. That's another really good important factor, you know.
How do you take this?
You can take it as a powder in water. We'll try it later after you've had your. We'll try it later. It is pretty. It's not the most delicious thing you've ever tried. I'll be honest with you, 100% honest with you. But it's really good. It's really good.
Best medicine stays on.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know, that face said 1,000 words.
It can help reduce the sugar cravings and the emotional eating disorders that a lot of people find that they're trapped in a vicious cycle of. Bitter melon is also one that they've been using. It's grown in India. It's actually kind of like a bitter, it's kind of a gourd, and people slice it up and make it into curries and things like that. It's basically very good for diabetes and blood sugar problems and weight management. I speak of diabetes because it's all, you know, eat like a diabetic to avoid being diabetic. Being diabetic basically is, you know, the mantra, isn't it? You know. It's not been approved for treatment or medication for pre-diabetes, insulin resistance or diabetes, but it can help manage blood sugar levels. And there's nothing wrong. You can go and buy it in the market, actually at Walthamstow Market. There's tons of it there. Yeah. I don't probably not organic though. Chinese mushrooms can be really helpful with a lot of things because they're natural immune modulators. They share 30% of their DNA with us. Maitake is particularly good for blood sugar balancing, whereas cordyceps is great for energy, and lion's mane is good for the brain, for cognition, you know. Chaga good for the gut, and reishi is again anti-cancerous, anti-inflammatory. So there's lots of different mushrooms of different things, and some people find that they're really helpful. A lot of diabetics find that it's really helpful in helping to balance their hormones and to keep their blood sugar levels balanced.
Sorry. When you say medicinal mushrooms, are you referring to all mushrooms?
Just Chinese mushrooms. Chinese mushrooms, yeah, Chinese mushrooms. They're the ones that have got the potent, powerful. Apple cider vinegar. A lot of people find it's really helpful drinking it just before a meal. It also helps to stimulate your liver to produce some bile, and it's just very, very good, especially people that have acid reflux or kind of low stomach acid. So just a little bit in some water just before you start a meal can be really helpful. And there's been lots of studies around it being very helpful for things like depression as well. So, yeah, it's rather good. I'm a big fan of Willie's. They grow their own apples, they've got their own orchard, and it's all organic. And it tastes great. You can buy them in any supermarket.
Is it always with the mother though?
Yes, with the mother. Always look for the mother. Yeah. You can buy the raw people in Jill's Village Health Food Store as well. There's a few you can buy. They're all good. They're all good. If you want to eat fruit, the berries are the best for being low glycemic index. But you can go on to Mark's Daily Apple, and he has a whole list of the best and worst fruits, which I recommend that you do. He's really great. Yeah, they are the best in terms of like their nutrient content and their fructose content, very, very low. So they're the best, really.
What about oranges and bananas?
I'm not a big fan of oranges and bananas in the winter because they're tropical fruits. They're designed to cool your body down. Right. And bananas feed your bad pathogens as well as your friendly bacteria.
Got a lot of potassium, haven't they?
Well, they've got a decent amount. I mean, there's potassium in lots of things, so yeah.
So you don't recommend them?
I don't eat bananas actually. I never. Yeah, I used to, but yeah, they're a bit. They feed pathogens actually.
What does that mean? Sorry.
Well, the little unfriendly things like candida, for example, yeah. The things that kind of fight for space with your friendly bacteria.
Right.
So yeah, and also designed to cool you down. So they're fine in the summer, but come the winter. They're tropical foods are designed to cool you down. Right. And you don't really want to cool down in the winter.
Does that also apply to things like pineapples and papaya and mango?
Yep, afraid so. Afraid so, yep.
Pears?
No, pears are indigenous to this country, so pears are great. Yeah.
Apricots?
Yeah, well, they're kind of Mediterranean-y, aren't they? Yeah, so it's a tropical thing that I'm really...
It's a tropical fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, papayas and pineapples have got some really great enzymes, digestive enzymes, and they're really helpful for things like arthritis and inflammatory problems and gut problems like bromelain that you get from pineapple. Yeah, a little bit, but just know that they're tropical. They're not indigenous to this. We didn't really... Our ancestors weren't eating any fruit in the winter, never mind. Well, hardly any, unless they'd stored some apples in the... Yeah, exactly, it was just apple and pears, yeah, and maybe cherries.
Apples and pears there.
Yeah. Chromium is also said to be very helpful in enhancing insulin activity, your kind of sensitivity. Brown mushrooms over white. Brown mushrooms have got more chromium in them, and they're more nutritious. White mushrooms have got natural toxins in them. If anyone here eats mushrooms, always choose the brown is my recommendation, if that appeals to you. I'm not lecturing you on it. These are some products that I use and I recommend. They're elemental minerals, and they're very, very helpful you don't have to have a good gut or optimal gut health or your liver. It goes directly into your mouth, through your cell, in your membranes, into your cells of your body. And Nano Gold has some blood sugar balancing properties, but I've got more information about it on the back table there if you want to read about it.
Is that a supplement?
It is, yeah. Yeah. It's quite
Magnesium is very good for calming the nerves.
Magnesium is really good for calming the nerves. It nourishes the nervous system, and it relaxes the muscles. It relaxes the heart muscle because our body stores magnesium in our muscles. And it's also been associated with insulin management. It plays a key role in regulating insulin action. So they've found that a lot of type 2 diabetics are deficient in magnesium. But a lot of people are deficient in magnesium. And you have to watch out for things that have had added calcium, because calcium is antagonistic to magnesium. So you don't need lots of added extra calcium in your plant milk drinks. You don't, honestly, because calcium's got to be in combination with other things to go to the right place. It's not going to go to your bones if you haven't got it with magnesium and K and vitamin D. It just goes straight to your arteries. So yes, we all need to top up on magnesium. Magnesium is actually a critical thing because it feeds your mitochondria as well, so it gives you energy as well as relaxing you. It gives you energy. So it's a wonderful thing. I love it. I take it regularly actually. I've got loads of energy. I feel great.
Well, we think magnesium and zinc.
I take zinc as well, yeah. I take zinc and copper, yeah. Exercise helps balance your blood sugar levels. No surprise there then. That's, that's a study that they did at Harvard Health. And yes.
I'm told 15-20 minutes exercise a day that increases your heart rate by 2-fold.
Yes.
Is what's recommended, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think work to whatever your threshold is, you know, what makes you feel good.
Well, obviously, the more you exercise, the better you improve in theory, but the minimum I was told was 15-20 minutes to improve the heart rate.
I don't know about, I mean, a lot of people have different theories about that, and a lot of experts say that there is an optimal range. It doesn't have to be hours and hours. You don't get any more benefits from doing 3 hours of exercise than you do from 20 minutes sometimes. It depends the nature of your exercise and the intensity of it and how clever your personal trainer is, I guess. Yes, it's just all about optimizing that. So yeah, so lots of benefits, and helps to lower blood pressure. By the way, I wanted to mention that fructose contributes to high blood pressure. That there are lots of experts speaking out about that now. So yeah, fructose can be a problem for high blood pressure. So it's not always necessarily about salt. I find that flour remedies can be really helpful in terms of helping and supporting us emotionally with whatever the emotional issues are around what we eat and how we eat. We do use food a lot to suppress how we feel emotionally. All of us. I'm sure we've all been there at some point in our lives. It's not a judgment here, because we've all been there. And if there are any underlying emotional issues, then flour remedies can be really helpful. Back flour remedies or Australian bush flour remedies are really helpful. You can actually go online and read up all the different properties that they have and what emotional issues they address, and you can maybe choose something that's right for you, or even go and see somebody who's practiced in this, who's trained in this. So I recommend them. I think they're really great, and I use them myself, so I find them really helpful. Sometimes a lot of our health problems are rooted in our unresolved emotional issues, and disease is, yes, triggered by unresolved emotional issues. So these are some mantras the most powerful mantra that I find personally when I was in my 20s trying to give up sugar is I would walk down the aisle of the chocolate and biscuit section in the supermarket, and I'd walk over, and I was still in that point still craving, and I'd look at it and I'd say, does this honour who I am? And if the answer is no, just step away. And I found that a really powerful strategy for myself personally, but something else here might strike a chord with you. You know, something else there about becoming the best version of yourself, you know? Or fulfilling on your potential, your optimal potential, you know, because food can hold us back. It can hold us back from being who we really want to be in life and who we really are in life. Not just who we want to be, but who we really are. But all the other stuff just covers it up. So the flour remedies can really help with that. You know, they can really help kind of dig away at all the stuff in the way. And you know, self-love and self-nurturing. This is a key issue here, because yeah, anything else is self-sabotage, isn't it? Self-care and self-love is something to get really present to, and I know us. I don't want to ostracise the men here, but us women who can be naturally nurturers and givers, we can sometimes sacrifice our own self-nurturing for the sake of others at the cost of ourselves, and that can go on for decades. Yeah, I'm not saying men can't do it. I'm sure men can. Men can be carers, or only, you know, the only parent and things like that. Men have been in that position too, but it's mainly the women that are in that position where they're running the family, and we often sacrifice a lot. You know, we sacrifice a lot around looking after ourselves, nourishing ourselves, loving ourselves. So yes, if any one of those mantras strikes a chord for you, then just take it. Take it, it's not mine. So the key strategies, I would say, is to eat more greens in your diet for sure. Try and get as many greens as you can. Nothing wrong with them. You can't gain weight for them. There's got no side effects unless you eat too many raw greens. Get some good quality fats and protein in your diet. Things like avocados and coconut oil and butter and oily fish and, you know, nuts and seeds and things like that. Things that are considered to be healthful. If you feel you need some herbs to support you in the initial stages, then do. You know, the genema, which we can all try after you've had your break. The bitter melons, you can get hold of those quite easily. Using magnesium and chromium, they're going to do you good anyway, regardless, because they're going to help you in lots of different ways, like your metabolic functions all over. So you'll get benefits from this long term anyway. But if you want more energy, if you want to feel like you can leap out of bed early in the morning and feel refreshed and not tired, then giving up sugar can provide that for you. It can make that available for you. I've had the experience of it myself. So a lot of people say that they have more energy. The problem with it is that all the cascade of health problems that sugar causes and promotes can all be eradicated just from changing what kind of sweeteners you're using. And like I said at the beginning, you don't have to take all sweeteners out of your life, but you can start to become really aware of how much sweetness you need, and maybe look at why you feel you need that amount of sweetness, and at what points of the day when you need it, and what kind of sweetness it is. So all those things can be moderated, and then you can start to have a bit more power and control over your blood sugar levels and over your emotions as well. So thank you so much for your attention. I hope that was helpful. I could have gone more into it, but I think that kind of gives you a kind of an overview. But I'm really happy to give you recipes or lists of products that are healthy, healthful and sugar-free. And I've got more chocolate here if anyone wants to try it. And we can do some genema later on as well.
Before the break,
and we can do the questions after the break if you like. If everybody fancy cups of tea and stuff like that. Yes, let's do the tea and the healthy snacks, and then we can do questions afterwards. So thank you very much everyone for your time.
I think we can allow half an hour breaks seeing as we've done so well.
Yeah. Share something with you. I'm starting up a community interest company to deliver talks around the UK to support people who have metabolic syndrome and neurodegenerative problems. I think it's a huge, big, rising issue, and we're looking at 50 billion 50 million is quite worrying, isn't it? A projection. So I need testimonials for my website basically, so that I can then go on and get funding for it. It won't, obviously I can't take on the whole of the UK. I would train other people to go around and do it. And there's an awful lot of funding available, but I need testimonials in order to push that forward. So anyone that's that enjoy the talk, that's happy to give me a testimonial, either put and also we do newsletters every 2 weeks, a newsletter. So if anyone's interested in my newsletter, also sign up for it as well. Got my book here. But anyone wants the PowerPoint, I'm happy to send that to you as well. And any great positive testimonials would be really ideal. Constructive feedback is also welcome. And that would be great. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay.
I carry around glucose tablets for a quick boost of energy. Are they good or bad for you?
Are you diabetic?
No. I
ultimately,
was told glucose is a natural form of energy. So.
well, yeah, it is. Yeah.
I find it, it's sort of, on a long day hopping around the tube and in and out of studios and bad air in studios and everything.
Yeah. I can just think of glucose. He wants to know if eating glucose tablets to boost his energy. I think there are better forms. That's what I think. I think you can get so much, but if you're lacking energy, you need to get to the root of why you're lacking energy. And it could be that
just the total going full pelt all day. Basically.
Yeah, I understand that. I relate to that. Yeah.
Is that without food though?
Yeah.
Is that without eating?
Don't be silly, I eat all the time.
Yeah.
but I'm a real bread chomper as well.
Yeah, that will rob you of energy. So that will probably rob you of energy.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
No, it's got carbohydrates in it.
Carbohydrates give you a quick burst of energy and then you feel exhausted afterwards.
Okay.
You can hit a wall with it. You only go so far.
Because of the insulin spike?
It's partly that, yeah, and then you have a crash later on.
And just on the final comment, on the bread question, as an inveterate bread eater, what would you say is the best form of bread to eat? Okay,
Waitrose do a seedful bread, which, I think it's called Heart of the Nature or something, seedful bread, and it's just seeds and a little bit of oat bran.
But most you can buy multi-seeded loaves anywhere. Right?
Yeah, you can buy multi-seeded loaves, but those are loads of wheat and yeast and sugar and bad oils and all kinds of things. They're just sort of kind of dressed up, pimped up to look like they're healthy, but they're not.
Right.
100% not.
Right.
So yeah.
I didn't know this. Thank you.
So you can get the seedful breads in Waitrose, Holland and Barrett, and Jill has some alternatives as well at the Village Whole Food store. Some people find they're okay with sprouted wheat bread. Sprouted can be okay for some people. I used to find it okay, but now I find it just makes me tired. So it's not for everybody. You just got to find out what works for you. But it's a nice transition food because it tastes it's got naturally sweet because of the carbohydrates in it, and it tastes a bit like cake. Have you tried it? Have you tried the sprouted wheat breads and Jill's?
Is that the Everlast bread?
Yeah, the Everfresh, yeah.
Yeah, Everfresh, sorry.
Yeah. Have you tried them?
Yes, yeah, as you say, they are cakey.
They're very cakey, aren't they?
Yeah, but yes, nice enough, yeah.
They're nice and they're a nice little transition. They're still carbohydratey, but they're sprouted, so when you activate a grain, it gets all the nutrients just drawn into it to build a plant. So it's very, very nutritious, and it's got a nice, complex, rich, release of carbohydrates into the bloodstream. So it's better for you.
So as a further to that, when you're on the go, you haven't time to keep stopping. I've got a carry glucose tablets in my pocket.
You could have.
What else could I carry instead of that?
You could have slices of that with butter. I used to do that.
No, I can't carry slices of bread and butter in my pocket, can I?
Not in your pocket.
I've got glucose tablets in my pocket now.
Right.
Take time to give a quick boost of energy when I need it.
Yeah.
What would be an alternative to that?
A quick. I would say.
On demand.
Yeah, you've got a tall order there, really, haven't you? Yeah. Quite a tall order. Maybe a kind of a protein bar or something that's got greens in it.
Bars, they're so badly slagged off.
No, they are. Of course they are. You make your own.
You've got to make your own protein bars.
And you can. There are some healthy ones. There are some healthy ones out there. You have to search for them now. You really do. But there are a few. There are a couple. Yeah. There's a company called Blue Dinosaur, and they make wild apricot bars with coconut oil in them. Coconut oil gives you energy. It feeds your mitochondria. I know. Yeah, the Blue Dinosaur do the wild apricot bars, and yeah, they're not really protein bars as such, but they got almonds in them and apricots, and they're delicious.
What about nuts?
Yeah.
I'm going to eat lots of cashew nuts and Brazil nuts.
I wouldn't eat the cashews or the Brazils. No. Cashews have got natural toxins in them. The problem with Brazils is that you've got the Brazilian cartel holding them back from being exported. So they're sitting around gathering yeast all the time. So actually a lot of them are quite stale. Has anyone here actually had a fresh Brazil nut?
Little's cashew nuts.
Well, if they taste fresh to you, then great, go for it. They're rich in selenium, but otherwise, I'd be very suspicious. Great, yeah. It's quite difficult to get them out of Brazil, apparently, so I've heard.
There is a company called Hoppy Dogs.
Yeah.
There is a company called Hoppy Dogs.
Yes, I met.
Selling nuts.
Hodmedod's, yeah, I met them at the show actually.
In Brazil,
Yes.
that, I can't remember the details of it now, but the Brazil nuts are harvested by one of the indigenous groups that live in the jungle.
Lovely.
And
Wow.
they're selling them.
Sounds great. Go for them then. Yeah.
It's, you know, more ethical, more this and more
Yeah.
that, you know.
You want fresh and ethical, yeah.
Opposite. So I don't know
Hodmedod's,
whether
yeah.
that's a more acceptable,
Yeah,
a
definitely.
better source of
I suppose you
Brazil
could always
nuts.
say they're almost organic, aren't they?
I mean, I would go with walnuts. Walnuts are a
As far as I know,
I presume they would come at premium now, wouldn't they? Come at
I
premium
think
price.
Everything they sell is rapeseed oil coated on them, but they sell their farm meats or something.
Who's that?
That brand.
Oh really, Hodmedod's? I didn't know that.
Yeah, everything's got rapeseed.
How awful. I didn't know that. We were right next to them at the show.
The packets, but this sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound good.
You get
Yeah.
no,
Were they available locally? Do you know at all?
Like Brazil.
no, I just buy them online from Hodmedod's.
Oh, right.
Jill would order them for you though. Jill would definitely order them. She would order anything for you, yeah.
Hodmedod's.
Hodmedod's. They got a little...
With a D?
H-O-D, Hod, N-E-D-O-D-S, I think is how you
Hodmedod's.
spell it.
They have a little hedgehog as their branding, don't they?
Can't remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they're British company. Yeah. Hodmedod's, there you go. I would think about that really. You know, you might have, you know, your diet and everything needs to be looked at, needs to be analysed. Quite frankly.
They're always on the go. That's the thing.
Well, I know, I appreciate that. I'm always on the go as well. Yeah. But carrying around a kind of protein shake sometimes with greens in it or something can also be helpful. Something that's kind of rich.
I also carry it during the summer because I'm on there about so much. The tonic tablets in the water. Is that okay?
I'd have to look at the ingredients in them.
Right.
I'd have to look at them.
So
I can't just.
can just say no, tonics are all the same. Sort of.
No, yeah, it could be all sorts of stuff in
I
there.
found they stop you get dehydrated.
No, fair enough. But I would drink water, and I'd really look at you know, the amount of glucose you're taking and how healthy that is. Ultimately, I don't believe that it is that healthy. I think it's a bit of a strain on the pancreas. You could end up insulin resistant from that.
Got it.
I'm not making any
No.
claims.
I don't know. It's just I found it.
No, we don't know. That's the problem. So you do need to look into that and maybe think about changing your bread, because if you're feeling exhausted, you know, if you didn't feel exhausted, you wouldn't need the glucose tablets.
Well, that's another conversation.
Yes, it is another
More about the
conversation.
work-life balance than anything else.
Well, yes, it is. Yeah, but you know, you probably your adrenals probably need a bit of support as well. Yeah, no, I understand. You probably need B vitamins and ashwagandha and rhodiola and magnesium.
Tablet 9 every day.
Well, it's not that it's no good. You need targeted vitamins for what you're dealing with. You need to address your central nervous system, to nourish your central nervous system with B vitamins. You need to feed your mitochondria for energy. You know, you need to be addressing your adrenals that are probably knackered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, ashwagandha, rhodiola are really, really good for that. So, you know, you can get all that at Jill's. And if you take my card, I'm happy to email that to you. Yeah, for sure.
So, I'll tell them a lot of Next.
On the basis that I've heard it said that the vast majority of the population don't eat enough fibre, I've been sort of certainly kick-starting in the morning with all bran.
Yeah.
Is that wrong or right?
Well, something's not right, is it? If 6 million people have got diabetes and fibre is quite preventative against diabetes, then maybe there is something in that when you think about it. Because I was just saying earlier on that there's a Harvard study that's just come out, and they were comparing keto diets with Mediterranean diets for diabetics, and the Mediterranean diet came out higher because it had fibre in it. It had more fibre in it than keto diet, interestingly enough. I posted it on my little Facebook group actually.
Food as well in the Mediterranean diet, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
How do you get your fibre in your diet on a sort of balanced day?
Eating vegetables, eating fruit, loads of fibre in fruit and vegetables. Yeah, and I'm not anti-grain. I do eat some grains. I just don't eat a lot. Yeah, I forgot to mention on here, I also run a Facebook group which Dr. Ridge is part of, called Busting Food and Diet Myths. Busting Food and Diet Myths. Food and A&D myths. And it's free to join, and I put up all the latest research that I'm you know, because I'm a nerd, research nerd. So anyone's welcome to join. It's on Facebook. Yes?
Just a point about the dietary fibre. Talking to colleagues in Africa, when Africans have post-mortems, they never find diverticular disease, which is a result of a low-fibre diet in the Western diet. And when they find that, it's like everyone gets excited. Here's this rare, come see this, look what we found, you know. It's basically a little pouches, little pockets that get bulged out from the side because of the increased pressure required to push everything through, because it's lacking in fibre, which retains fluid, so it keeps it semi-solid. Whereas if you don't have enough fluid, it's like when you're mixing straw and mud bricks or whatever. You know, literally you're producing something that's far more difficult to push through, so the pressure goes up.
And then these little pockets have all sorts of things go in there and start to kind of ferment and inflamed and
appendicitis.
Oh, it's awful. Just thinking about it. It's quite, too common in this country, really, isn't it? It's too common.
Commonplace.
Do you think a lot of problems can some of them be reversed, or is it just a case of mitigating certain conditions? Because people might go through life and then they get problems, they get symptoms, they get a diagnosis, and then they start being eating a healthier diet.
You would be
left it for a long time. That's what I'm saying.
You'd be surprised what can be reversed.
Right.
If you go onto YouTube and you look up Dr. Terry Wiles on TED, Minding Your Mitochondria, she talks about her journey, how she reversed her multiple sclerosis. Now, anyone in the medical industry will tell you that it's not reversible, that it's not that it's incurable. If you go online and look up and you go on YouTube and you look up Dr. David Perlmutter, you'll see him reversing Parkinson's. If you go online, look up Dr. Sarah Myhill, she's got a whole website dedicated to neurodegenerative problems. She is reversing people's neurodegenerative problems. So, Dr. Sarah Myhill. Her website is drmyhill.co.uk, I think. MYHILL.
Okay.
Dr. Myhill. These people are doing groundbreaking work. Dr. David Perlmutter has written a book called Grain Brain, and he basically has always established that Parkinson's and neurodegenerative problems and dementia are all associated with the gut, leaky gut caused by grains. And guess what? It's just come out as a study in nature.com that is actually the case. So there you go. Dr. David Perlmutter. Funny name.
Can you recommend a book that encapsulates all your talk today? Because there's so many on the market.
There are loads on the market. There are loads. I can tell you the ones that I've read, but my talks are a kind of an amalgamation of all the things that I've looked at. So there is. There is. I've read Dr. Barry Grove's book. What's it called? How healthy eating is making us ill. What's it called? Trick or Treat. It's called Trick or Treat. How healthy eating is making us ill. That was an interesting one.
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. By Barry Grove. Trick or Treat.
Right.
Trick or Treat. How healthy eating is making us ill. And there's also one called Deep Nutrition. That's a really great book. Forgotten the name of the doctor. Deep Nutrition's a very good one. Deep Nutrition. Deep Nutrition. Yeah.
With regards to Charlotte's book, though, to answer your question, remember it's going up on the YouTube channel if you have access to that, so you'll be able to go back and go over her talk and her PowerPoints and look at the references and follow it up in more detail. Yes, do. There's lots of. I mean, I love looking at Dr. Zoe. Dr. Zoe Harcombe's got a website, and she's got 20 food myths busted, which I highly recommend. You can download her PDF. Dr. Zoe Harcombe. Yeah. 20 food myths busted. I highly recommend that. It's a really great read. There's loads of people that I find very inspiring. There's a really great talk on YouTube by Dr. Robert Lustig called Sugar, the Bit of Truths, and that's all about fructose. Dr. Robert Lustig, Sugar, the Bit of Truth.